In the autumn of 1992, we came to Yushan National Park in search of the rare and legendary Swinhoe's pheasant. Moist, nebulous vapors scurrying ever higher, the mountain mists quickly dominate the October afternoons. The faint silhouette of Swinhoe's pheasants silently appear, barely visible amid this world of whiteness. Only occasional faint sounds break the enveloping tranquility of this place. Swinhoe's pheasant is endemic to Taiwan. The species was described by Swinhoe, a British naturalist, as early as 1862, but thorough field research would have to wait more than 100 years for the intrepid ornithologists Sheldon R. Severinghaus and his wife Lucia Liu Severinghaus. They conducted basic research in 1972 during their many expeditions throughout Taiwan's mountain regions. They spent 2 years surveying Swinhoe's pheasant in several of the island's mountainous regions. These birds are so vigilant and wary of humans that they would often walk 10 or 20 kilometers before seeing one or two. And even then, they would fly away within seconds. According to early data, the distribution of Swinhoe's pheasant ranged from Taiwan's coastal plains all the way up to 2,200 meters, including everything below mid-elevations. But an increasing human presence has taken over much of this habitat, pushing the birds further back into the mountains. Today, you find few traces of the birds below 1,000 meters. We helped implement the plan of Yushan National Park Board at their request to increase public awareness of Swinhoe's pheasant by following the tracks of the original surveys and attempting to film this elusive species. Like many wild creatures, Swinhoe's pheasant is often found in highly diverse, multi-level, successionally mature forests. The shade from the large trees in these broadleaf or mixed broadleaf coniferous forests blocks much of the sunlight, reducing the amount of undergrowth. This environment enables the birds to move freely while still providing adequate cover and protection. Swinhoe's pheasants are quite scarce, and their movements generally do not follow any regular pattern. We couldn't find a trace of the birds for the first few months, and it wasn't until the spring of the second year that the discovery of some droppings and tracks led us to a group which were consistent enough in their movements for us to film them. It is daybreak. The first light of dawn pierces the veil of darkness enveloping the land. Having groped our way through the dark to the concealment of our blinds, we wait in silence for the Swinhoe's pheasants to awaken from their sleep. Through a sea of mist, the Swinhoe's pheasants follow their usual route, poking their heads out silently from the bushes as they search calmly for food. The male is an impressive creature with dazzling plumage. The female, though plainer in appearance, is still impeccably dressed in broken geometric patterns. Perfectly composed and dignified in their every move, they seem almost aristocratic in comparison to the clownish bamboo partridge. These birds often emerge to go about their activities at dawn or dusk, or when it is misty or drizzling, adding more than a touch of mystery to their behavior. Before foraging for food, they look around their surroundings carefully, only beginning to feed when they are sure there is no danger. While eating, they raise their heads often to keep a watchful eye on things around them. They exercise such caution, perhaps, because they are poor flyers and must be on constant watch for predators. The females, we observed, were extremely careful. They avoided foreign objects, and at the slightest rustle of the wind in the grass would freeze and stand in readiness. At the slightest sign of danger, they would quickly move off, tail feathers spread and comb erect. In contrast to the females' caution, the males seemed almost neurotic. They weren't as cautious about new things, but a random sound was enough to send them fleeing in terror. Many forest creatures serve as lookouts for the Swinhoe's pheasant. Warning calls from the Taiwan cebia or from squirrels put them on instant alert. And in this way, the Swinhoe's pheasant compensates for its inability to remain at length in the canopy of the tree to watch for its enemies. Swinhoe's pheasants generally remain on the ground, and mainly eat from small plants and bushes on the forest floor. Their diet includes grass seeds, nettles, tender blackberry leaves, and the fruit and the flowers of Polygonum chinense. The wide range of their diet and the abundance of mid-elevation forests combine to ensure that finding food is not a problem. They also use their claws and beaks to dig in the ground for roots and small invertebrates, so the earth is usually pockmarked with small conical holes in areas where these birds are active. When a strange object or sound is detected nearby, the males will exhibit an unusual flapping behavior. Once, when we were busy filming, one male apparently heard the sound of the camera motor. The male came over toward the blind and began flapping its wings fiercely in front of this unknown object. Next, it circled the blind before returning to its original spot and going through its wing flapping display again. It repeated this process several times as if putting on a show of force. Wing flapping is also one of the ways that males parade their prowess in front of other males. Besides repelling other males, they sometimes are so overbearing as to drive off immature birds and even females. Late spring 1993 was into the breeding season for forest birds. Bamboo partridges were moving in pairs along forest paths. One afternoon, several usually solitary female Swinhoe's pheasants began to move about in a group, which seemed quite strange. Early the next morning, these females appeared together amid a chorus of bird calls. It wasn't long before the male made its appearance, and we were later treated to a fascinating and rarely seen courtship ritual at dusk right there on the forest path. During the ritual, the wattles on the male's face became so engorged with blood that they covered the whole side of his head. Dipping his head constantly, the male would walk toward the females, then turn aside to display the beautiful feathers on its back. It would circle its chosen female again and again in a courtship dance. After the courtship rituals, we observed this particular male with 3 females. We would see them at dawn or dusk, following one of several paths through the woods and along the forest trails. These birds formed a loose group, but if the male was there, he would take the lead at the head of the group, striding out freely at the front with his head held high, while the females would follow as they moved about nearby.